right, hey everybody, we're in my backyard again, and so that we have light shining on us, so we're not silhouettes, we're kind of having the sun in our eyes, and yeah, so this is the sun in our eyes episode, but this is for Sandstone. They're a local distiller out of Yelm, and this is a brand new, or somewhat new, they're stout beer, 86 proof, barrel finished, and I think basically what happens is there's a local brewery that puts beer, brews some beer in these casks, and then they give them the casks back, and they brew some, they distill some whiskey in them, and then when they're done making the whiskey in them, they give them back to the brewery, and they, you know, make more beer out of them, and they just keep trading those casks back and forth, and so that's what gives this whiskey its unique flavor. Now this does not have any corn in it, so it's not a bourbon. It's also not in virgin, virgin oak. So it's all that's another reason why it's not a bourbon. So it's just an American whiskey, but local, out of Yelm, and we're gonna. Or is it technically? Oh, no, it's Tenino. Tenino, yes. So right out of Tenino. And the Sandstone, if you've watched one of our previous episodes, we did a interview with the founder of it. And he talked about how it's called Sandstone because of they actually have a sandstone quarry. And they actually do have sandstone there. But, yeah. Jeff, what did I miss?
Oh, you didn't miss anything. Just to add, so I found out recently that in Tenino, one of the quarry locations is actually a, I don't know if it's public, it's a little bit of a money to get in, but it's a swimming hole. So you can actually, they've got a dock and they've got a bunch of, it's all stone, so it's filled with water. So you can actually go and well, today's not too hot, but we've had some heat waves. And the water's a bit cold, but there's a nice big accessible pool that you can go and swim in out in Tenino, and it used to be a quarry, so it was kind of cool.
That has quite a bite. That has quite a bite for didn't you say it was 4.5 years? 2? Was it 2? I thought it was 2 years. Okay, I thought it was 4. I thought he said 4, but
no, 16 months or 18 months in the first barrel, and then 6 months in the stout barrel.
Oh, okay. Hopefully that picked you up when you said that.
Oh, it's about a year and a half in the first barrel, and then they move it to the stout barrel for another 6 months.
Okay. So yeah, that's quite brutal. What's your thoughts?
You can definitely tell. Like, I can taste the beer, and it's kind of nice. I like stouts. I like beer, so I'm all okay with that. Yeah, it is a little harsh, but I think that's just because it's a young whiskey. Yeah. There's just not much you can do to get around that with a 2-year-old whiskey. So if you're willing to accept the bite and accept the kick, it's pretty good. I think it's a little light on other flavors. So it just tastes like if you extracted stout beer flavor and put it in a whiskey. There's not much other hints of or I guess it might be there, but it's overpowering by the stoutiness. So I don't know. What do you guys think?
I don't know. I like the smell a lot. It almost has a apple. Like, it makes me think of a cider almost. And then I can detect the beer that's in it too. I don't know. I like the bite. It is a strong bite, but it's not like a savage bite. It's not like kick you in the teeth kind of whiskey. But I like strong flavors. I like pure cranberry juice and dark beers and strong whiskeys. Personally, this is my favorite so far.
Honestly, I was quite surprised by the flavor of this right off the get-go. Had kind of a harsh bite to it. Almost kind of reminded me of the bite of a cask strength, but just without the alcohol volume. It has that 86 proof, but when it hits the tip of your tongue, it tastes kind of like, something that would be reminiscent of like high 90s, almost 100 proof, maybe a little higher. But the flavor is definitely there. You can get those hints of stout beer in there. And I'm a real big fan of that because I'm a big stout drinker. Always have been. I've always been a fan of really dark beers. It's a little bit of a sharp bite, a little more of a sharp bite than what I expected, but I can't really say anything bad about it. This is actually a really good whiskey, and I like the fact that it is local. Although I can say that with a little bit more aging, maybe not only in the stout barrel, but in the whiskey barrel for maybe about another year, it could actually have some seriously big promise, even more than it already does now.
Now, so we've been doing a lot of low end, bottom shelf, standard bar whiskeys, and the one thing I noticed about them is they will take and with sweetness, with more corn, with more things like that, they'll try and cover up the fact that it's they'll try and cover up the lack of age with the sweetness, and so it'll sit there, and like a lot of those whiskeys will taste really sweet on the tongue initially. They'll have a good mouthfeel, good easy mouthfeel, but then the finish is really turpentine, and I don't taste any turpentine with this. It's like this is what happens when you have a high quality whiskey, that a truly high quality whiskey that has not been aged as much as it maybe should. But the only thing, whereas the other whiskeys have a mash bill that maybe isn't quite so great, and that's they're trying to cover up that mash bill by making it sweeter, and cover up the lack of age by making it sweeter. The only thing I think going up against this one is its lack of age. I think this whiskey, don't change a thing, but give it more cask time, and I think that they would have some serious award-winning whiskey here.
Yeah, I mean, as when we went to go buy this, the son said there's no replacement for age.
Yeah.
And when you have a small batch distillery like this, it's really hard to sit on product. You're putting money on the shelf and not in the bank. And so it's really hard for them to sit on enough that it gets aged. When you've got distilleries that have been around for hundreds of years, yeah, they've been able to set aside a cask for 30 and it's not a big deal. So I expect to live for quite a lot longer. So I'm willing to wait and see how these guys do in 20 years from now, and maybe we go in on a cask and we tap it out every once in a while and see how it goes. But
not a bad idea. Drink whiskey cask, special edition.
Well, so I was talking with the Sandstone guys a little bit, and I think we are going to have some private conversations with them about slapping a Nerds Drink Whiskey logo on one of their casks and saying, hey, let's see what happens if we let it sit for 4 years. So maybe put a don't open till this doomsday date on it. Put a Nerds Drink Whiskey logo on it, and it'll be the Saturday. Basically, it'll be a Saturday after 4 years, and we'll see what this tastes like after 4 years, and have a private party up there, invite only, and you got to be part of then we'll launch like a private Nerds Drink Whiskey club that you have to be a member of, and to get the address, and of course the address is Sandstone Distillery, but to get the invite to be on the list to be let in, and sample from a 4-year-old cask. And see what happens. But because, like I said, this is, I think, what happens when you have a very high quality whiskey that only needs more cask time. That's the only thing missing here. So, yep. All right. So that is this episode of Nerds Drink Whiskey, and we're going to come back next week for the last episode of this series, and we're going to discuss what happens now that, and we assume that this is going to air about a month later than we're recording it. I assume that by that time, the purchase of Disney owning the Fox assets will be solid, and it'll already happen. But we're going to discuss what we think. We're going to predict, look into the future and predict what's going to be the ramifications of Disney getting all those Fox assets next week on Nerds Drink Whiskey.